then you can see our Aldan American coilover kind of pops through like that. Alright guys, what's going on? So today's video should be one where I finally get the coilovers mounted in the back of the Galaxie and we get to mount these bad boys. So I got a little bit of work to do, some design changes that I was going to make. So I'm going to go over on the car real quick and we're going to get to work. Front of this thing's looking really good. Did the heat shield install, cleaned up the whole engine bay. Everything's looking really nice now. Just got a couple more things to do and a couple other things to change and we'll be good there. Underneath the car though, to come into the back, oh boy. Ugh. So you guys can see we have the fuel system ran. Still gotta do hose clamps and a couple other things, but we don't have coilovers yet. We have everything tacked in for the suspension up here and up there, but we haven't actually welded in any sort of coilover mount. You can see I relocated the fuel line down because the coilover mount would have basically ran right into it. So what I have to do is normally you would weld a bracket off of the frame right here and then bolt the coilover down. However, the distance basically from here to here is like 8 inches. It's not much. So in order to get a decent realistic amount of travel, no matter what, I'm gonna have to cut into the trunk floor and then go straight across. So what I have to do is basically, I'll use the 3 holes here that I have, try to mock it up and build it on the center one so I can adjust it. And then I'm gonna go ahead and cut a big slot into the trunk right here, which is gonna suck considering the trunk's brand new. When I cut this material out, build my mounts and build a crossbar that comes all the way across this thing and welds to the other side of the frame over here doing the same thing. And then I can basically then just run a coilover directly up from this hole to that bar. And then we'll have good ratio and I can have a decently long coilover because I want to actually have a decent amount of travel with this. I could run a shorter coilover, but then I only have 2 inches of travel. So that's not something I wanted. So yeah, fun, right? All right, so I threw the coilover in the mount. So now you can see it's on the center hole. And if I go up here, it's good with the frame, but it's gonna hit the floor. So, and if I weld a mount off the frame, my shock angle is really like super diagonal, as you can see. So to make it more vertical, I'm gonna actually weld a bar, and then I have these tabs up here, which I'll go like that, and then I'll notch these to fit, and it'll just go on the tab all the way across. So that'll work. I think that's a better idea to mount these things. It'll work a little bit better. It'll look cool too when it's in the trunk. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut that out and start fitting these.
In every kind of story I worry I might miss. Every time I look up I'm running from mine. We got off and we can't recover the time. If I couldn't go back and stand in the same place, I'd do anything just to see you the same way. I don't care for nothing as long as you're mine. We got off the cause of the time. Everybody can fall like this.
All right, so our 2 holes are cut out. So it's really upsetting knowing I have to cut this brand new trunk, but it'll be worth it. So I'm gonna go ahead, mock the coilovers up again at the right height that I want. And what I'll do is I'll basically plate the frame, because I'm not gonna weld the bar directly to the frame. I'm gonna put overlay plates on it, weld those up, and then I'm basically gonna run a bar up and straight across. I'm hoping I don't have to cut out the center of the trunk. I really don't want to. So I should be able to go up, over, and then back down. And then what I'll do is I'll take these plates that I cut out, cut them in half, and then re-weld them back in around the tube that I make. So it's all one big process. I'm gonna get to it. Okay, so this is a Heat Shield Products welding pillow. So I can use it this way, or this way. It does not matter which way I want to use it. But my head is like in a weird position on the floor, so I'm gonna go ahead and use this, prop my head off, and it's totally weld proof. It's fireproof. It won't catch on fire. Alright guys, so a little update for you guys. I got everything pretty much fitted the way that I think it's gonna land, so here's kind of what I got working with. So I made those frame overlay plates, that's kind of what those are. And what that does is that basically you don't typically want to weld directly to the frame when you're doing suspension bracing or tubular work, because it gives it a shear point. So you want to make that larger, which is why we do the overlay plates on both sides. You don't have to necessarily on a street car. I see a lot of guys just weld tubes directly to the frame, but I have a background in off-road stuff and this is how we do it there. So it just makes sense, it's way stronger and I don't have to worry about it. So it's got 3/16 plate welded, you know, right to the frame directly, and then off of that there's a tube landed on it. That tube's notched into the the brand new trunk floor right there, and then you can see our Aldan American coilover kind of pops through like that, and then it hangs through the bottom. So everything seems like it's working the way I want. The shock angle is way more than I wanted, but it's still less than 45 degrees, so it's nothing to really be concerned with. I don't think it'll be too big of an issue. Fortunately, because it's at such a low angle, because there's the frame, you can see I can't actually scoot it up anymore without moving the 4-link inside. And I can't do that either, so I can't go outside of the frame either with the shock. As you can see, it obviously will hit the tire. So it's kind of all I have to work with there. But an extreme angle shouldn't be too big of a deal, I'm assuming so. I can also move it about an inch that way, so it'll be probably moved up about 10 degrees. When I was looking at it, I think we were sitting right about 50 to 60 degrees, somewhere in there was where I was looking at. I think it was 60 degrees actually at full droop, which is good. So it'll probably be a little bit above 50 at bump, which is fine. So I'm gonna fully plate that whole thing anyways, so I shouldn't have to worry about it. I might have to go up in spring rate because I was expecting them to land them a little more vertical than they are, but we'll have to play with it and see what it does. Alright, so before I dive in too far into actually getting these coilovers on the car, I wanted to go over them real quick and why I chose these specifically. So this is the Aldan American coilover. This is the coilover I run on every single vehicle that I have, and this is why. Everything you see, it basically comes with this kind of stuff. Shows you exactly how to set it up if you're not sure. Shows you the angles it needs to be at and the spring rates and whatnot. Shows you the different styles of kits that they offer. They offer full drop-in kits for different cars. So if you have something as common as like a Mustang or a Camaro, they have a bolt-in ready kit. You just order it, it shows up, and you bolt it in. You don't have to do anything crazy. Well, if you're like me and you kind of like getting crafty and creative, they have specific kits to where you buy it and you weld the whole thing on, which is similar to what I'm doing. Or you can buy just the coilover and make it fit, which is what I did. So the coilover that I went with specifically has a 12-inch to 12.5-inch height at ride height, and then it's a full 13.5 inches extended and just shy of 10 inches fully compressed. So that'll give me the dimensions that I need to make sure I don't build it at full droop. I gotta build this thing roughly at ride height. And on this paper that Aldan American sends you, they will tell you want to get around a 30-degree angle, which we're a little bit more than. Unfortunately, I can't get much closer than that. I think I can get around 40, which won't really kill me too much. And then it tells me specifically if I have a 3-inch stroke shock to set it up for 2 inches of compression and 1 inch of rebound. So you cannot build this thing at full droop. Being the shock is set up pretty much fully extended as it sits right now, when I build this thing, I'm gonna have to go ahead and find out where my ride height's gonna be and lift the car up 1 inch, build everything, and then when I put it on its own weight, it should sag back down an inch, assuming I got the right spring rate. So hopefully that should all make sense. It's gonna go in the car. It's a little bit confusing. Aldan American has a bunch of great installation videos as well. So I'll put their YouTube channel up on the screen as well for you guys down in the description. I highly recommend checking out their website. Everything you see that they offer is fully American made. You don't have to worry about waiting for it to get shipped overseas. They have it all in stock here locally in California, and they'll ship it to you anywhere you need. And I just wanted to give a massive thank you to Aldan American for working with me on the Galaxie. Without them, this would not have came together. God, do I gotta do everything for you? Alright, so we got it in there. So basically what I did is I mocked this tube up, and then I built everything at ride height is where I made the geometry for the suspension. And then all I did is I have a 3-inch stroke shock. So that's my total travel. We have 1 inch down, 2 inch up. So what I did at ride height is I picked the whole car up 1 notch on the jack stands, which ends up being 1 inch at the axle. So then that basically fully droops it. I can put my coilovers in, and then when I sag this thing back up, it should essentially be back at ride height. So they're in now. Everything's exactly where I want it. We're about 50 degrees on the shock, which is more of a shock angle than I wanted, but at the right height that I'm at, you know, it's really just one of those things. That's kind of is what it is. You can see I can't physically get the shock any higher without hitting the frame, but it does fit, it does cycle. I might have to go up and spring rate a little bit or just crank in some of the stiffness on the rebound on the coilover, but I'd say it looks really, really good under there. I'm super happy with that. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull out all the coilovers all the way out. I'm gonna make little shims that go in place of where the coilovers are, so when I weld them, the tabs don't warp. And then I'm gonna fully weld everything underneath this car. So then all you have to do is bolt it in for the last time and put the car back on its own weight for the first time in like a year. So kind of crazy. So I just opened a package from Heat Shield Products. The guys that were just here, they were asking me about welding and how I get embers down my shirt and burn the hell out of myself all the time. So they sent me this. This is super cool. It's a reflective welding jacket. So it has their heat, you know, reflective material. The whole thing is made out of it. It's Velcro, so you don't have to worry about zipping it up. I'm gonna wear this thing right now because I'm actually about to weld underneath it. Check this out. This goes perfect with my mullet and my mustache. I don't know, my inner Van Halen or whatever artist you can imagine that would wear something like this. But it's open on the back, so it's not like you're gonna lay on it and ruin it. But I just stand up. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's bitchin', look at that. And then it's even got these little hook things right here so I can clamp them up, make it a little tighter, so I don't have to worry about it going down my sleeve. And we got another pillow. It's a little bigger, and now I can sit like that. Nice. This is pretty comfortable, actually. I think I can sleep with this. But yeah, that's made out of the same material. You can see it's got the Heat Shield product on it right there, which I think is upside down. Yep. There we go. It's pretty cool. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. gosh, look at that. I am so happy.
We have our Aldan American suspension in there looking absolutely awesome. It's mounted at about, I think it was a 40 to 45 degree angle it ended up being, which isn't horrendous, but I'll probably end up having to go with a stiffer spring rate. However, you also got to keep in mind there's 0 preload in these springs right now. So I can crank it up once I actually put fuel in the tank. You can see our cross member right there with our coilovers hanging in there. They kind of go up and down. It's kind of cool because you can see everything move from this vantage point, which is kind of nifty. But that bar looks pretty good. We'll go ahead and we'll plate all that stuff off after. Man, that is just something. That is so cool. I'm so happy with this. See our tranny tunnel notch for our drive shaft looks really good up there. So that gives us the room to go as low as we are. And then it does have wheel tubs in it,
which you can see over here. So the tubs allow us to go as low as we are with 20. So there's a lot of modification with this thing to get it the way that it is, but it's on its own weight in the back and it's freaking low. But that's what I wanted. I actually put it at like a little bit more of a drivable ride height. Also keep in mind I'm on the middle setting on the 4-link, so I can go about 1.5 inches higher and 1.5 inches lower, and then I can adjust preload. So I really have 2 inches of movement either way based on adjustment in the suspension, which is the way I built it. So I can raise it up if I want, and if I want to really slam it on the ground and lay frame, I can. So I can go 2 inches lower than what I'm at right now. But at that height, I'm pretty sure just it sitting there, the drive shaft's gonna hit the floor. This is crazy. It's weird seeing it all together after I've spent so much time building it all. It's mind-blowing to see that that's on its own weight. There's no jacks underneath it. There's just the ones in the front, and that's where the car's sitting. Absolutely mind-blowing. So this is one of those rare moments where I get to look at the car and I'm just incredibly proud of what I built. And this is something that I completely designed from scratch, really. I took an eBay kit that was not built for this car at all. I cut every single aspect of it up and then remade everything. So the only thing I used, I think, was one of the upper bars, and I had to re-tap it anyways. It was still tapped horrendously. So everything on this triangulated 4-link was completely reconfigured and reconstructed to work with this car. I'm not gonna link you guys to this kit because it's useless. You might as well just build it on your own. And then the coilover mounts and the crossbar, all that stuff I made myself. So it's probably costed me, I think, about 400 bucks in material to make all this stuff, but it's a lot of work. You'll be sitting out here for like 4 days getting this all squared away if you've never done this before. So if I would recommend something to you guys that are wanting to 4-link your 64 or 63.5 Galaxie, buy the Ride Tech kit if you can afford it. It'll make your life way easier. But if you're really into the custom stuff like I am and you really want to be a build it yourself kind of person, you don't necessarily have the money, there's options out there for you. On eBay there are kits. I don't recommend them. That's what I have here. You're gonna have to do a lot of work to make it fit, and at that point you might as well just start from scratch. So but yeah, I'm really happy with this. Well, with that being said, I'm super hyped on this. This is a major milestone with this car actually getting on its own weight and seeing the suspension actually move and doesn't look like anything's binding. Really good to see. There's a couple minor modifications off to make in terms of bump stops and stuff like that, just moving stuff ever so slightly, and then I gotta pull it all apart and paint stuff. And then I'll eventually change to the old roller wheels so we can get this whole car painted. But there's a lot of cool stuff coming, and I do expect to have this car running, if not driving, in the next week or so. So stay tuned for that. Hope you guys went on to enjoy this video. Leave a like if you did enjoy it. It really mean a lot to me. Thanks a bunch to Aldan American Suspension. I would highly recommend checking out their products. They have a wide range of stuff, all made right here in the USA. And with that being said, thanks you guys a ton for watching. See you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.